Welcome to Wednesday, Fatherfuckers. You are watching Failure Corner, where I couldn't even place in a poetry competition that actually requested a specific poem. Yay, go team. What I have been doing is putting the finishing touches to Dead Girl Industrial Complex, working title with a lovely picture of Tiamat, the Babylonian goddess of creation and chaos on the front. And I am going to read that at you now. Enjoy. The first poem is called Mary Bateman's Bones. Look up Mary Bateman. This is an entirely true story. Strips of my skin, tanned into leather, sold off as charms. I did not mind. I roamed the hoaxes into fact. An egg, acid etched, then reinserted. Christ is coming in neat sectarian hieroglyphs. God's work, warm from the arse of a gimmicked hen. I used a cruel work needle tip and plain acetic vinegar from my Buddha flukum. Oh, I am a carny bitch at heart. Among the sideshows pickled punks, those gaffed freaks mummified in brine, I am queen. My stilts of bone are creamy white. The delicate paraffin bib of my face mounted on a steel pin. The governor kept the tip of my tongue. It would wake him at night with my grifter's spiel and ballyhoo, baby boy. Come to the coot show, walk the dime store wonder cameras of the barely human heart. Behold the head, an opened conch where fear falls in and out of music. There were 2 books worth of me, Arcadian Princess and the Hurt of Sedition. Oh, how grievous indeed. And to see you here in the filth of your fault, my dear, your stare is absolute skull-dug strips of my skin to ward off plague or poison. I was hung for the rumour as much as the crime. I did not mind. When I said that silly cow was cursed, I meant it. A curse is an upright thing in skirts. It was me. The poem is called Case File, after the podcast of the same name. Skin, in fact, is fuel. Motto this onto your body and never forget. They'll try their best to fool you, wafting a chamomile language with underdone tongues that will leave you a truffle-leaking musty fondant face down in dog dirt and wet heather. This is where all their floribund compunctions are tending, the wide sleeve levelling its roses at you. Now you are a slender cipher skittishly missing. You passed between 2 trees on the hard shoulder, walked through the mirror, left no footprints. In the pasture, your clavicle bones stick out like the starched cambric of a Flemish ruff. You are a cameo, enamelled into memory, mention in the weird gazette of small-town law. Row of maidens smoothly smocked. Yes, all you numbered honeys, do not be fooled, though they give you eyes like haunted portraits, wasted cherubs, soiled toys. Have no pity. Your dress of ribboned picot loops along the edge of lace. White work, hardanger some, even weave, not vulgar so much but rude, when he sat too close and he sang about stoneless fruit. Tiamat in Southwest 1. The fundamental myth of patriarchy is goddess murder. Mary Daly. Rise. The new moon's bleak communique is a soiled red hokum. Poets and all your feeble glyphs meaning moon, shut up. My most succulent humour is horror, is a chaos camp between 2 lunar nodes, caput draconis, corda draconis, the way a ruddy light consoles. Consult my tension headache men in the slow burn of my low. My low is a throne they squat like Rodin's thinking shitter shitty thinker Elvis, fat and dead. My low is a modem's digital throb, the fossilized alarm a paper folds between the faulty caps lock of its headlines. Outrages are multiple and coming your way. Somewhere a man is fashioning the thin script of his brilliance into amorous sound bites. Somewhere they are ticking a box about you with a red pen and a nasty competence. Monster is a kind of questionnaire word, is a 1 to 10 scale, a yes or no answer. The doctor is an orifice, a kind of speak your weight machine. Tell me about your pain, he says, and the mouth goes through its moist theatrics unbelieved. I'm a Frankenstein science of parts, the body a kind of kitsch jest. Here is a tendril, here a tusk, a talon in a camisole, silk, superabundant freakishness. And the doctor says it's all in the mind, days of selective fret and seek. Picture a dragon, picture all the lithe and viperous tenants of the sea. Picture snakes, venomous, exalted and violent. Picture maddened lions, big weather beasts, offspring all unspecified and hairy, scorpions stinging themselves in the head like Stan Laurel. I had such children. I tried to put lipstick on, but my mouth became a scarab and crawled all over my face. To speak of the face, that fright mask of partial ecstasy. The sea is not an abyss, but a garden. I had a lover, by which I mean love. He knew my storm-embellished depths and found them not beautiful, but full of a perfected fever. All that glisters is, in fact, myself, in the shimmy and squeeze of being desired. Boys killed him. Revenge is a golden pendulum, a wind-up monkey banging cymbals dressed in purple velvet and brocade. A metronome. Salt has a savour too. Grief is a species of shame. To speak of the face is a roll call of the faults I became. Monster in a doting rage, floundering in fissured 3 a.m. The radio ejaculating static, and my bed on fire, clarified by paraffin. The wolf wife. In sandals, in gloves, in powder blue and the utmost mortice of duty, Sunday finds her, wistful as a guillotine, scrutinizing the Bible for loopholes. She watches the dogs, a fitful carnivorous umwelt, a Weltschmerz. A wife is a dew claw joined to this world by a tender hinge of skin. Her perfume is Detchama, the stink of dead necessity, gamine and fatal, the neck beneath new mink. Whores have an odour, ladies scent. The aldehydes of an orris musing musk. Dusk settles on her bare wrist like a tick, and her turned cheek is peaches and cream. His smile is opaque with small adulteries. She dreams the black river of his instep. He steps on her head. She wears his foot like a gentle crown. Listen to this, their darkening digestive hurt. Her thighs are jams of white flesh wet to the touch. Her mind a moraine, a vulgar Latin murmur meaning snout, in stockings, in a straw hat with a wide brim, in potent apprehensions. Her book of fate thumbed shut. Her shame dates her modesty forbids. The smooth, ripe glut of a body, delicately sweltered, and her bridal veil has coarsened into gauze. She watches the dogs tumble through ghetto gorse and horse dung, in the roadkill culverts all oaths and grace. She dreams of doctors, their pitchforks and their forceps. This one is smiling, holding the gleaming speculum like sugar tongs. They wear white gloves, they are magicians, a scythe to her vitals, a vengeance of tines, of tweezers, blades and prongs. She twists her wedding band as if to unscrew her finger. She simmers astringent stews, looks into his yellow eye convex with felonies, yeasty kennings, and Sunday's bread, the penance and the pledge. And these are her legs. She cannot tell the bruises from the stains. If you whistle a dog, it comes to you, arriving like the back part of a long-forgotten reel, or the stilt-walking waders, the boxing hares, the hammer blows of a recent wildness, lulling her skull in two. 7 manic nights, after the folk song 7 drunken nights. He leads the night. I cannot sleep. I have no thought inside this shrinking spring. Is an ungainly blade I train upon a book. Finite and beguiled, then paralysed, my unlit lettuce face correct, the jaw covertly clenched. I am writing to rake the past into a grinning sexual weather. I want the newly thundered air unmade. This is how I see myself. Not the hilt of a sword, but the handle of an axe, a rough surface proper to the phases of the moon. They gouge their gathering calendars against my sickle grain. What is happening to me? The body longs to spill its poisonous uterine centrifuge. I'm a slow bladder, a bag of stuff, and bleeding is my industry, my talent and my occupation. In the night he finished the machine marked me. In the morning we'll see. Silver moon, not silvery, but a decadent shekel, precision spent. A thinly gesticulating shadow he's got, televangelist eyes and hands so big they mit the world. I stare out of the window and I say, I had a bad dream. My undead father shuts his face, a scorpion in the corner. They said there was something wrong with my mind. The door is not merely knocked but sealed, selfish. I work my fist into my thigh, improve upon a bruise. Now I'm anaglypta with regret, white lead and arsenic. His secrets happen inside of me. I am the library and the body in the library. Oh, silver moon, their talk is a complex toppling. I won't sleep now. Watch a film in which the killer clown is a reversible geisha up in everybody's shit, except now they are adults or something. Awkward, disappointed, but with movie people hair. Oh moon, I want a pale green place where the raw soul applies its rouges. He keeps on telling me, soon, soon. I had a bad dream. My undead father. The wall will replace its planted men. He was mine, all golden and absurd. He grew from him. The land is rich, a rough enemy fertilizing. On the wild incomes of the body, on a reasoning straight world winter over now, her legends grew fur and her fur grew legends. And don't count your hyenas until they are just don't count your hyenas, full stop. Mania is giving the walk its castle, birds with the flight starved out of them. I stride and I stall in turns. The police have it in mind to gird your circles, fuck 'em. The air is a pale elsewhere becoming blue, and I am my own mirage. Somebody says excess about my writing, but that's just pouring good peacocks after bad. I like a mortal animality in me. The practical silence of a meeting or an interview, their staunch faces when you tell them, dole used to mean mourning, dole was a flock of doves, now dole is an economy of grief, fucking poetry where mad tongues are money and they want you all burnt up. A dog is a notable form of infinity, an angel of return, a theatre of promise. All I can do is walk. There is little else from these inferior forms of grace. On the body is the wrong wilderness. My rune is a glyph against the lower back, the tramp stamp of the working class. I must walk. I can't stand the screen, this job, that job. What a reader demands is the supple disadvantage of a girl, bloodshot prophet of an unsuccess. I won't speak my dirt no more, sobbing my way through the vine and fig tree. Greenham dirges, but it's too fucking late. The fourth day is a vivid dream. Netflix is a cold, obescent glow all over me. Mutual worship. To be a true watcher, not a starer into space. This shimmering they speak of, I have held its pointed fierceness on my finger, I am sure of it. Through stupid designated summers in another time, a broken worm flexing against a bare eardrum, theme songs, anthems, the copious and sad hymns, ballads, anti-Thatcher chants sung in a round. A woman with steel-coloured hair talks about steel, and I wonder what it was we ever made, if anything. Through the strenuous nostalgia of a clip show I can't connect to life. The boys and their night ranging, their netherworlds, their fiefdoms. Insula and Oracle. I read a post that says, men are verbs but women are nouns. My dress has no edges and all edges, and I dissipate and swell with the seasons. Is a hyena a verb or a noun? Ceremonial skin I lick, therefore it's mine. Have I told you lately that I love you? And by love, not some flavourless possessing in the usual way, not a casual reminder and all caps screaming through this quarantine, my love. A repeated sun coming in and in and in waves. Is this not getting through? This is my home, my chosen sofa. Love, its habit, stabbing some but still. I'm sorry. For my pinecone approach to touch, for the pain I catch in the crepe of my body-coloured body, for how I say my moments into mountains, for the eyelids pinkening twitch towards shame. But they have been compound nouning me forever, poor mad ugly victim, slut, etc. At night I talk myself to plush, erasure among the pillows. I dream I am Lucretia in revenge, and what a shit revenge to die by your own hand clenching the ancient feminine scent of lavender between your tits at the point of a blade. I hate those curd-coloured Protestant Lucretias. In the dream, Lucretia me is Sid Vicious carving gimme a fix into her chest. I get like that sometimes, I want to spit blood in people's soup. Not yours, my love, never yours, loveliest mensch. I wish you only Venice, a city of lips, and for you to unscrew my exciting eyes, bulb by bulb by bulb. I slipped their velvety question into me. I rolled it around my mouth like a grape. I am not sure I liked it. The loving choke, and how and where a man draws blood. Of course there were whips and the word boudoir in a French menu font. I find it rather stupid. Days of cake and chariot antiquity misquoted and consumed. There is no Rome without these fascist trappings. Frat boys, fuckbots rubbing themselves to the linen arousal in sheets. No, this was not for me. Men with automated groins, the hard, candid demands of light. Of course they are turned on by such things. Their country has never been held together by handcuffs of handmade gods and hand-picked dead. The wounds on our feet unfold their ambrosia drop by drop. The wounds on our wrists, the wounds in our hair. Like Christ in his torturer's Alice band, Christ in his heirloom Spencer tiara, this florally ornate lover's knot. Only not, because nobody gives a shit. Of course they are turned on by such things. To desire at all is to possess a kind of lilting power. Their whole art croons and swaggers with it. Baby, 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 etc. Their desire is not a gift. Their desire is something they aim, and we are Bond girls squirming in their crosshairs. Shall I finesse his skin from him? Peel him of his pall of flesh? No. I am 16 years old. My body is serviceable wonderland. I am 38 years old. My body is Scooby-Doo amusement park abandoned, but for baddies in masks, projectionist freaks I've always known. I had a bad dream. At the party they spiked my drink and blew me apart like a dandelion. Immobilized, distorted, voices in the bag of her mouth, dressed to the very pitch of injury like Winnie in fucking Happy Days buried up to her waist. I've had this dream. The body goes past versions of estrangement and into the pure apparels of hopelessness. To find yourself in the middle of life, shrinking and divested, fading like a bad tattoo. I don't want to wear clothes I can't run in. I don't want to wear boots I can't kick with. When I picture Charlene, it is falling through the centre of our fellowship, escaping into air. Moon, I want my life, the cutthroat gladness of aspiring. Don't mad me, moon. I don't want a confessor or a therapist, a terrorist. I need a friend. I picked the bones out of that one. This is a slightly nicer poem. This is Equilibrium for your birthday. When a dog is a sleek incitement, this staggering magnifique night is putting on the circus. It is late, the brain too blunt for cunning, our pleasures ended, labours fouled. On the beach the lovers, trickling away to nothing. Their skin is translucent and heedless of time. They have good routines and conscientious habits. There are so few stars, and this bitter snagging fault in me won't let me rest. To live by a kind of sexual thrift, this is not pretty, to be so exquisitely frightened. The sea is ricochet and perchlorate its perforated grains, to swear by my own reeking violence, a weather witch perpetrating storms. I'm setting the scene. My milky platelets mooning, the circular logic of dogs, shingle, funicular, the rickety future horde, death, our immeasurable animal pickup sea glass stipple green becomes an extravagant vowel in how to say it, chartreuse erring over, arnica, hyssop, artemisa, wormwood, wormwood, wormwood. There's a funny feeling like torchlight through an earlobe, dear one. With every year you become less dead and more formal. A recording of you, your mouth vends luckless sundries, bonbons rolled in powdered glass. I kick stones in time to you, across the water, portents of Europe, history strained through a decorous path. Gulls and their pedant flight paths rounding the same stiff corner of air forever, having nothing else to offer. I learn the difference between conflagration and deflagration and write this down in the cover of the book you signed for me. One is a rule of general fire, the other a discriminating act of high intensity. I'll read your quickened plight through to coughing on the bandstand in the brilliance of important dogs and night. Our murals. We have fudged this pain, resurrection without miracle, and on into the glum functioning of numbers. Our eyes are pale babies. To cry is so much timorous pretending. I never knew you cared, we'll say, and they didn't. Demise lacks the sulphur of murder, but really you get what you deserve. A shallow golden fuck, a spray of stale heather worn as a charm against jaundice, your brother's reproach, bellowed out to syrup in the alcoholic destinies of 1998. Are there asphodels enough for you? The sauntering formula of dogs and brats. Here the checkered incomes of police. Here the oracle in the blushing nausea of her quaint "I told you so." And so she did. And anyway, spectacle is the better part of memory. Or it is all we have. The rich people have eyes like whelks. Rise from the ruins of capital excess, rinse them from your skin, and who are you, are we, are any of us? City of flatulent karmas, ghost on a plinth, portrait pinned to air. Internet suicide girl poems. #drowning not drowning. To find me, plausible and aspiring in a relevant dress and full of promise. O Internet, O Tumblr, at 20 your sunniest meme is a church I enter, mouth full of feigning. I will be well. To find me so industrious and suffering, sweet bean or sesame, darkest soy, an oyster sauce I squeeze from me. My pores are little sepulchres, my face is thick with foreign bodies, my face is foreign bodies. You don't know, except you do. I do not know anything. Weary and sleek at 3 a.m. What is it to be so heavy with lustre that you can't even? In my vault of suspect valentines, a boy whose kiss is an absolute brat and it wants what it wants. He said I have become intense. He led me not into temptation in the night when the body is its realest zoo. Couldn't we all use a flew of those flavourless mercies? And by mercy a kind of white people tea. You drink it off hot and without sugar. Me, when the heart turns watertight. Me, at half the speed of me. To find you, I won't. Days of lulling wound I know when hands cannot comply. Youth is being the world and the serpent under it. Better to have not been born is the penitent subtext of all our comic fonts. O internet, O blog of blogs, a typical silk of self-cut and a softer filter over us. A squealing dream at night, I'm unzipping a damsel, I'm climbing in through her face to say yes, and I thought if I could lay my shadow in a stranger's lap, could stretch myself the length of my light reading, I would be sane. I would drain the blank page like solemn milk. I fail by theft, by thrift, by pills, by mania's several devices. To find you, if anyone could. If I could reach back through the rabbit for the hat, paranoid and nobody wants to fuck that thought. Nobody wants to deal. What does it mean to go under, to become? Sclerite, the spiny element in me. Kelps and corals, colonial forms, good sea stalwarts, all down through fleabane, limonium, sweetest vulgare. A red finger gropes for light. Gorgonian ghost whip, plum rose, enemy, anemone, down through thresholds of fatality where flesh is a territorial fauna. The sea has mouths enough to find us, and you might, in whatever preening days remain to you, not immersed, submerged, of our own crocodile doing. And when it is time to peel this weakness from us, when we are all body, gorged with form, then you'll see, oh dear one, oh internet girl on the internet who never made it, I would give you my growing if I could and none of its pains. The mind is not our fault at fault, the wreck and the reef, the wreck and the treasure. I have been waiting to tell you. Pear Mare. Because yes, all men. Night walked to a toothful certainty. Words for what you did assume my mouth, and I know in that moment and all moments hereafter. I was the route, she was the route. We were your long walk home. I chose, I confirmed, I captained my clothes. I travelled in brightness, and how dare I, hermetically sexual Catholic girl. He does his dark addresses into me over and over, what you might call troglodyte, what you might call I slashed myself to happening. Girls bound by our metaphysical wrists, vexatious pain, concerted flesh, the eye crossed in its amours and trailing wires. Sleep is a violent golden finitude, my skin a vicious syrup, yes, grotesque with sweat, the thorny throes of vigilance. In a season of retreats, retrace my steps to tryst, to psalm, to grim, extravagant soliloquy in a squeezing dream, a commerce of hot hands at school. A girl, gilded and conspicuous, some silly scented fetish moi, where I am compliance puppet, where a girl is a succulent maniac, an insatiable terrain, where foreplay is this bayonet's acquainting pertiram. Acrylic paint I pick in layers, what you might call a wasp on water, what you might call a mouth, mouths the mean competing teeth of carnivores, because yes, all of you, and if I should die, fated by lady saints in a sateen gown, then that is proper and apocryphal. To die, intact and empty, a cautionary doll, an urban legend. If I should live, politely decline to rewire my heartbreaking brain, well then, what am I but a lumpen, honey, a reenactment catalogue, an embarrassment of stains? But I did live, speaking my rank resilience to spew. Abyssal trick, these anvils of miscarried thought tick, petulant, defensive, mutating a tame fear to strut. Pear Mare, nightmare, the desperate grandeur of the sea, what you might call a secret, coarsened into ghost, that feral, spectral part of me I have been waiting to tell you, gratuitous with tongue, a hyena for so long, I swallowed the coal that was myself. For those of us found in water, or in ice, the body dreams of itself on Sunday condensed inside a cul-de-sac. We are going to church in long white socks, lucidly fleeced a race of glimpsed poppets. We wow the boys. Is that how it was? Or summer urgent and idling, a bad case of the lowering fidgets? Someone says they can smell it on your breath, and I was an ashtray full of the stubs of other people's tidy sex, our dull summers cornered and then shunned. There is always a man with a van, an unpleasantly spacious mouth. He rolls me up in plastic tighter than a tube of arcade change, the body masquerading as a mannequin, an angel, a perfect lily of TV dread. In barrels or in brown offcuts of carpet. Look at us now, at me, surfacing through the grim sling of my own skirt where only the waistband remains. Pageant sashes of weed. Water works on us, and the face is a casual glacier calving from the skull, to slide from the self in sheets, forms, sediments, the stuff of nightmares. What was the land but a surface, all surface, a crust you pick with the nib of a spent pen? I dream of suitors pushing back their sleeves, the hempy night, fathers and a critical affection. I am uncreatured here, am fathom fire, a shape but not a form. Prost, you found me. Now it's your turn to hide. The world is so big. A whiskey light where you might melt to know me. It is never coming. A city night, all dangerous and fragrant. It is never coming. Culottes in spring are never coming. Pale calf consumed by their shy mulberry swish. The January sales will not be coming. The gelatin resentments of a friend in tennis shoes who's tearing up and hates you. First bliss, the nice perhaps of a hand. No, 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 they are not coming. The sacred wood, it is not coming. The clerk who holds my mourner's gaze replete with passing, she is not coming. The great and glistening tropes of old dead men will not be coming, underlined or otherwise, my vivid adult self. As she frequents the red and white striped awnings now, she will not come, there will be no mornings, I will not dress my doting gloom in coffee poet. Savant of hysterical sympathy, I will sing neither my plights nor my fovery desires. At 19, I am Soto in a sauntering kingdom. My Berlin Bowie cheekbones are turned up to 11. I am quite gone. The world is so big. I'm a bug on the windscreen of its wide horizon. It is dying slick art that drips from me. How a footballer's wife drips diamonds, how a brown dog's mouth drips wet grass. I will not get lost in the catacombs of loose amusement, wandering, bleating in a fitted sheet, where shame is the interval and the circuit. It won't bother me. Women shining in the strict garments of their Monday hustle, glamour as a lump of shit shimmering with flies, as a prophet of your choice in a beard of bees. I won't have to care. Windows that open onto nothing, my eyes, not a latte or a beach or the boozy ridiculum of living. The world is big, but the dead are without edges, the absolute obscenity of emptiness, to be cupped by nothing. Air. When all you have is a hammer. You can see where this one's going, right? Then all you see are women, skulls and their vulnerable trumpery, a slow eye, a stint of bone. He works his way to the centre of a witting pain where waiting, opaque and paralysed, a reptile house unwrapped, sticky as a rattlesnake, fat and yellow. He sees us, wound around ourselves to strangulation, fluorescently distressed, until we are convulsing debris, twitching protein, odour and metaphor. A look on his face, like a king squinting through a jewel. If he had a hammer and we are expectant and taut against the subtext of his glum erection, women with fringed asymmetrical mouths, thrips and mites and thunderbugs, pests in our rampant tenebrae, with eggs enough to blot out the sun, left to breed, left unchecked, left to our spooky colony erotics. Termites, how a maggot is a tear delving back into the eye. When all you have is a hammer, then all you see are the backs of heads bobbing through the mental gelatin of drink, pink and white, an open canker, a popular song, and the trenchant bouquet of alleyways, allotments, composts, of bin bags ripe for tipping. To be so brazenly dead, so lucrative and stifled, and that phony strepitus is the sound of our luck being drummed out. He had a hammer, and he was on us like tetanus and disco. The year I learned to squeak like something peeled, like Dolly pleading with Jolene, Jolene, while the world would bandage his bloody hands as if the blood were his own. Victimology. I apologise, I'm thinking of changing my name to Trigger McWarning just to cut out the middleman. Victimology. How you feel about a pink corroded sky says a lot about you. In the night I dream my skin like a butcher. I will go on 4 legs in the morning and 4 legs in the evening. At night I will redouble myself like a spider. I'm a slut for sherbet and nobody can tell me any different. On being both colossal and bodiless, seducing the shit out of you with one meticulously limpid eye tied behind my back. How you feel about that says a lot about you. On a scale of 1 to all my vanquished captaincies, how drunk is drunk enough. My somnolent comforts, confessions, finite trash disfigured in the video. What horror is, they have it in abundance. On Craigslist, fucking YouTube, lust is a kind of beeswax polish word. Like marquetry and bridges, the late Victorians were really great at it. You, not so much. Me, not so much. And now what's this? A prayerful seepage at the least convenient moment. I do not want to cry. Is it getting light? Rumoured moons, superfluous flesh. How you answer this says a lot about you. Arms like false antennae. These pale receivers picking up nothing. Wasps. In the teeth of it, as they say, between the horns of this ordeal, or the tines of a fork, or the loins of a hive. My head is a hive that contains no honey, no, a solemn vesperi, the monody of wasps, their eerie, sexless industry. The book becomes spit, becomes pulp, an opus grows in the mass mind of the mouth, this colony poesis, fiction, toiled into fiction, each little paper cell a page. The book becomes the book, contains the library, slim volume of frustrated rage. The jaw, working like a guillotine, a wasp is a poet, a bedroom philosopher. Poke a hole in fruit with your finger for the fun of it. Listen, the estate is alive with the child-captured ditties of ice cream bounds. As for dragon's blood and screwballs, the quelling paste of caramel, I could not ask for anything. My tongue a planchette pushed around my mouth to spell out howdy. The rubberized handles of my likely black forensic stains where I sweat in shorts, not being a boy, not being a boy. In the slackened cabaret of parks I assume the mantle, the softened knack in ankle socks. Girls in the burlesque of their handstands, handsprings, plimsolls, Jesus. Men, their woo is a charm wound up. Impulse, perfume, push-up bars and green gym knickers, the day-glow lycra hymen technically intact. Flanus, my stride is my slum and I walk this hall of tortures into reckoning. They talk with voice as thin as soup. will not look to them. Comb my hair across my face like cousin It, lower my Luddite lids over silver Lidite eyes. When and where? These are adult land questions, and I'm not quite. Instead, that they are coming down the road and the distance clings to them, clods on their boots, a biscuity crust to their skin. His face is a thin varnish. You could pick it with a compass, pointing class cotton ball it off with pink pear drop smelling acetone. Instead, his shirt in a ball on the floor, fold upon fold, a dispassionate brain. How ladies talk, stinking case with a rancid elegance. Their scent, a sighing enzyme, and we wanted to be like, made me feel grown up, a civilized piglet squealing myself back together every morning. And one night, a gummy seam of stale mascara speaks softly of the dissipated silver blackening in drawers, to the fickle drawl around a ginger tooth, errant and halt in a halter top, sweet with expendable melancholy. My head betrays my shape, womanly. Baroque by Belamancy, arrows pointing inwards, little sharpened stones. The eye entraps its augurs one by one. Acts in the sex crimes, silence of the night settling into their swagger. Roadkill gaff to the tarmac. I am still a black incisor in a sticky pouch of cloth. Small town this, kitsch with fear. Owls do choral, hemlock totem, idle omen ghost. The wasps go in and out of me, little shuttles sewing dirt into my maid's finery, a parish shawl, a cloak of power, pearl and pearl. I am perhaps a horizontal loom, hot mess of heddles, battens, reeds, oh, pale jacquard, oh, matalassi, brocade broderie on glace. I am come to lace, to blue-green damask tatting, pillow slips, brooding with embroidery, the simpering trim of a peasant skirt, tassels, tiny silver bells. I am recycled into linens, silks, spirit medium muslims, white and shining. I am a garment district, a Chinese laundry, textile piecework measured by the yard. I am bolts and spools, I wind from me. I am a rag trade. Dream of Laura Palmer, wrapped in plastic or dope. A fragile florist cellophane precociously pops on a single beach. The dead have the night with its freight of lunar hungers. On video, most exquisitely crepuscule, the dead are busy glamorizing cigarettes. Eat that cherry pie through all its phases to exhaustion. Towns like this, sclerotic and macho. It wasn't Laura, glowing, dancing, laughing. It was the seed pearls of my acne, close in its half-wit while Pergus heaped the violet nocturnal of curfew. Do I really remember dogs in their tomboy nonchalance, loitering and terminant, scooting with worms? Inside I am taffy, my body a kind of star-shaped pinata. I come apart in chewits and skittles, a severed ear like a sugared shrimp, its pale pink cool cue chalk. I apply lipstick for the licking of, singing Candy Pop, wanting to look like Manda from Biz, wanting a Powerpuff bobblehead look, wanting my sleekest denier stretched between chimneys. My mouth is full of wasps, agile survivalists, him holding my head down going, taste the fucking rainbow, firewalk indeed, a prayer. It's a pile of leaves, a broken sink. Without windows, the true carnivorous splendour of the house becomes possible. Wasps are a quilted ceiling. I am furtive food, guttural, clutching and splayed. The empty bedrooms talk to themselves like stomachs, lie on the mattress and breathe in dust. Talk travels backwards through time towards the mouth. Fear, asphyxia, crab claws make scare quotes around the promenade. Obscenity, eat so much sand, how I used to confuse desert with dessert, wild rhubarb in the garden and a hole in the roof, in the teeth of it, as they say, that trinkety smile exceeds the face it's set in, remnants, keep your sea change. Malt vinegar light runs in a tight loop around the rotten fixtures. I'm 100 sulphur heralds, strange, stranger, strangest. My laptop screen is brighter than my future. Swans. Flesh is my manner of emergency. Sorry. How does it feel to solve the silence of a swan? To be so clever and so clear on any given day, you can meet the witless fecund morning in its mouth without blinking. Am I impressed by you? Love, that specious floral incident, fucking's hard luck union, please. My bitch please is a Kyrie Elysian, dressed for a penitent season, for a high wind and a tridentine mass. I do not know how to be held. Asymptote approaching zero only always. You are so thin. Yes, like math. Flesh in the feeble gloating light of rooms, where rooms are full of men who say their lack to sanctity and back again. They are full of a twitching legal hysteria, their patriots' eroded croak. I have heard an arch cannot be occupied. A girl is also passed through. You own us, like all swans are the queens. Flesh, my name is Hester, 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 and by name I do not mean my name, I mean the marim part of being that we feed to Cinthvari, trick cuisine of braised lardoons. Here, kitty, kitty, eat the wispermost atoms up of me. I lied. My name is the sound of a key in the door, or a coin in a meter. I am sorry there's so much of me. My flesh has the quickness of winter, the shrinking idiom of snow. I will little myself in the springtime. We are not made for longer days. How does it feel to be so full of wonder that there is no room for wisdom, or so full of wisdom that there is no room for pain? Between screams is a kind of dull, haunting, the finger dipped in wine as it wheedles the rim of the glass. The dog next door does geriatric terror, the face in feral outtakes, twisting to fulfill some inner summons, sovereign insomniac. And watch the birds instinctive strut. Flesh is our manner of emergency. Sorry. Skin become a verdict in the dewiness of dawn. Sweat on my top lip, spit the colour of cum. I walked my tongue across the street with a gentle pressure. I stared at a flat surface. I broke my own arm, my neck. This is an extraordinarily long poem. With my protecting angels, I navigate hell, etc. After reading the Inferno. While I died, and how nearly early 2000s of me. Virgil, like some know-it-all sat-nav, says do not pass go, and what is death but a soft pink hell of my own mouthing, or the other thing come to that. And yet there I was in the vulgate Monday midlife of things, astray from salvation, spending money I did not have on a splintery tea and dresses that would billow as I walked. A few bad years, or whatever that means. A leopard, a lion, and a she-wolf walk into the bar. That loser was ambient cancer and all over everything. The cats on the lean-to roof do a dead-eyed and ritual licking. Lie down for an hour, turn on the bed like a tap, naked and futile, neutered and fake in eternal pursuit, the poets. When the big man started to speak, his face was a clock, stripped of its hands. Dead girl, na na na. The world half glimpsed through the wreckage of her ribs. Gossip, strained through all the phases of a mouth, from blow-up ode to paper cut, to be used, to be spent, and the difference between. What fresh thrift is this? I was greedy, I was wanting, I was mean. My name contained me like a corset, said, pinch 2 rolls of fat together, make the self more lips. Father confessor. When I thought about her, I purred like some mortally gratified animal, to be the bullet hole in the new broom, and be shelling her breasts like peas. Virgil was no help. Virgil was nowhere, was bribing the boatman for a crate of rum. Oh, death, your contra passo punishment's my cheapest thrill. to be a witch, to do that barrel scraper shtick. The hell mouths conjugate the verb to gloss. I am a glass pole pretending to ice. I am a practising disappointment. Oh, my early promise, never quite in a library mentioned as mad. A housewife and a genre snob, and the feminine substantial, that fat, tentacular, extraordinary. Oh, go on. Women are a foolish world and wilful cruel. In a state of swooning contentment, the purveyor of an awful charm, I am dead girl, na-na-na, occult power in a failed fun way, that ritual human refusal, such middle-brow sorcery, darling, how quaint. So it's Cameron, Jackson, Tiamat and me. We're going to braid each other's snakes and talk about the boys we like. Having no desire to be a virtuous pagan, I thumbed my nose at Christ and his Dubrow harrowing. No offence, but the heavy sick-room sweetness of a meadow just before the storm is a long, hard nope. Brings suffering alone within my pale survey. When all you have is a hammer, then all you see are nails, citadels, aristocrats, and here I come with a blunt force proper to communism. Morons there are, listlessly shrived at a banqueting hall. Virginia Woolf, a horse-drawn smile is crossing her face like a coffin, swan maidens all, upon whose needle lips I live, a spirochetan curse and slur. Here are the laureates, recipients of funding, indecent with authority, with thorns sufficient for the whirlwind fucker. Limbo's just another clique. Minos is a high court judge. His penis is a gavel and he bangs it with abandon, foaming at the mouth about perverse acquittals, threats of violence. His is the kingdom of the scheduled offences. His is the diplock, the power and the glory, and he chokes himself like so. The kind of man who has to stand up straight to sneeze, whose fingers forget how not to be fists. At the weekend he bleeds radiators and peasants. His glove box contains a chemist's tin of travel sweets that tastes of tar-bound macadam, bifocals, an index of English B-roads bound in human skin. But onward! I like a howling darkness in which carnal malefactors fatigued by touch live out the sea in its shuddering as one long enduring orgasm. What does it mean to lust, to be overcome? Is who wants to be a dry sow tolerating rut? There's nothing I've met with yet I did not know how to refuse. Even so I have desires, some jigsaw obsessive piecing myself together again, night after night. It is humorless work. That loser, his desire a kind of extrovert brand loyalty, his desire the arcade's gimme claw. True love is the self exceeding the self. It's an arm stretched out with your fingernails growing in real time to cross the space between, and all this highfalutin chalk about stoneless cherries is so much vulkish guff. To wear your shame like a rooster's comb, to have her grow towards you like a heaving floor of heart's tongue firm. The freezing mire, the mauling worm, to fill the monster's mouth with mud or mixed recycling, inching past like a cartoon cat on tippy-toe. And why? Here are the gluttons with a whipped dog's grovelling gait wading through slush. Boys of a stumbling pulse of selfish sleepwalk sensuality, they say, as if they didn't know how debauch is their manner of negation, ague. The porn star, porous and bored, her back is a burning bridge of midnight's junkie song spiel, of perishing and sweat, superfluous wit, slow to foliation. An Ottoman tulip, the beauty of which is engineered sickening. There should be flowers here, a dwarf-shaped joy. Look, a dessert trolley loaded with ironic tortures, maraschino nipple twist, cement gâteau. When they push it past, you must grab whatever you can. The fourth circle is a karaoke bar in which politicians and investment bankers are forced to perform rendition after soulless rendition of money, brackets, that's what I want, over and over again on a loop forever. Worse than this, there is a Eurovision-style point system and they must vote on the strenuous efforts of their peers. Worse than this, there is a meat raffle during the interval. The TV in the corner shows muted sports of a kind it is possible to play with half a lung. Everyone waits for the adverts to kick in, like painkillers, and they stare at the screen with a hard, doped yearning. At a certain point, need itself becomes the anaesthetic. Virgil eats Big D nuts from the palm of his hand, honey roast, so they stain like nicotine. The big-chested blonde on the blue display card has probably been dead for at least 20 years, and anyway her smile did not reach her eyes, but nobody thought this worthy of comment. Jeff Bezos now, with an ugly smile, usurping his mouth and catching an inherited cough in a pint pot, stumbles to the stage. We do not stay to listen or ask why their hell looks like our lives. But rage has that wow factor, doesn't it? An itch I can't unlearn, the old hates, idling in slime, the head slow-cooked in its hood of nettles, its hessian sack. Hyena, my teacher. I carried an early animal as my grandfather raised me to carry it. The ferrous budget of my sin slung across one shoulder, knocking me in the lower back as I walked. Hate was a waxing moon, whelped of long shadows. I licked it, sweat it, kept me going. We bit the evening clean in two. But wrath is a dynamo, isn't it? All that flying glass, all that splintered wealth, and the part of me that goes good. Learning in reverse, to kill is to cure. Uncausable cause, and spite was a ribcage world, was a second stomach, was a lush grassland animal, eyes lit up with a lachrymose flame, a god and a book, but a hyena first. And they sowed our brains with salt so nothing would grow. Oh, I wanted the landscape without men, the men without heads, a pile of femurs with the aspect of a gift, a hyena whose teeth are candles. And someone was always saying, eat leaves, annul the lipstick mouth. And there were always women maimed by dainty labour, embroidering abasements into undergarments, but hyena was my chosen theme, crunching her republican syllables in a scullery manner. And they made rage sexy, they sold us out. Through the Stygian marsh, we skirted the cows' meat bustle, fat, slack cows, in the doom of their dependency, Stepford wives both cosseted and crazed, replay their lonely romance in a remnant lowing, hawthorn snags the weather's hot and methane laced. They were women once, ruled or sainted in the toothsome whimsy of their worship-going girls just wanna have fun. There are cows behind the climate always, Kardashians in leather girdles made of themselves, farting their dumbbell pastoral on Twitter, the real housewives. A vulnerable bulk is not in vogue, the past will absorb them into the period costume of a sexist joke. Their redacted names are the little black oblongs that go with everything, can only be called cow, and with terrible teeth in the 70s, immovable. With truly feminine bad manners, cows. Virgil stands there, scratching himself like some flummoxed cuckold like Andy Capp, but I'm a dung whisperer, cow persuader, bovine negotiatrix with intercourse and a megaphone. If you do some fine art angry cow hyena poems, they'll shift. I've got Sister Outsider and a blister pack of sweet pink zippity doodar. I've got Hannah Viner and Nancy Morrison. They'll admit that they're women and they'll fucking move. At the top of the meadow, we are rebuked by furies, nuns more concerned with punishing sin than obtaining grace. They're as brittle and stiff as honeyed locusts. Mother Superior pushes a wheelbarrow. The wheelbarrow is full of Jesuit babies. When a wheel hits the rock, a baby rolls downhill. It bites you as it flies. It gathers no moss. Look, who's telling this story? Shut up. I am particles. Let's span time and don't touch me, okay? I am dead. That is, I lay on the bed for days, ingeniously neutered in the air-conditioned room. If you don't think the dead are to be looked at, consider the frigid atmos of galleries, of the exacting tender mauve light of Vermeer. Ooh, I feel expensive. My incident tape is a red velvet rope. Virgil stares straight ahead like a childish husband who has lost an argument while driving. We descend through Muzak, and the aerosol musk of the food court to the hell of the sellouts. Eternal fire enclosed within a Kinder Egg or glitching Tamagotchi. Speech is slow, corroded monologues taped from the telly, trapped without tracking in the sub-pov late 90s segue on Letterman. Virgil starts harping some Marxist summer school about art and nature and the dignity of labour like the obvious plant that he is. Cameron tugs at his face. It comes off in her hand like a mask, but it isn't a mask. Violence as a three-ring circus. But the Minotaur is mooted, for he is Kuzariku, Tiamat's truant son, and she hung him in the dust of her love by his horns from a beam and took away his iPhone. The rest of us made our excuses. Tyrants wallow, lesser henchmen wade, in a Centre Park swimming pool full of boiling blood. The man-made currents carry them round and round the contoured concrete islands, the unconvincing plastic palms. Fuckboys in Muscle Beach posing pouches push back those who attempt respite against the chipped stone steps with a vintage Hasselhoff sneer. The generals are here, the presidents, the aides, the spooks, the tactical voters, the failed staters, the sexer-uppers of reports. Thirsty scourges all. I was not sorry. I saw Blair, of course, his eyebrows rising above the phlegethon like air quotes around his legalese. Thatcher, but we will not speak of her, except for the scalp she wore like a swimming cap, and the plasters over her eyes sealing them shut like used verrucas. Jackson pulled me away. In the wood, we both became trees. Listen. I died, and I identify as a Noggin script inscribed on stone and stave. I died, and I identify as a tree alphabet, an Alder's oracular power, as Brandsback, as a whistle for the wind. I died, and I identify as Birch's fertile purgative, the womb, the whip. I died, and I identify as Blackthorn's cudgelled kenning, needles of me and the wax of the world. I died, and I identify as a forked rowan wand the witch would cross on the cattle pen Grande Brigitte beguiled. I die, and I identify as ash. I pull focus, I make both men and spears, I am the weaver's beam, the leaves beneath your pillow. I died, and I identify as willow groves, their morning flux, a loose knot and a pliable shoot, and catkins for the fever. I died, and I identify as serpent's eggs, oak galls gathered in the hem of a dress, a green man struck by lightning. I died, and I identify as holly and as ivy, the vigour of an animal entwining. I died, and I identify as hazel, sacred to the fae, my nut-nine scruples sunk in a pool. I am fish food and waterwork. Horny poets chew on me. I died, and I am vine and reed and anything turned towards music. I identify as elder, rapidly rooting thought forms summoned through accursed fluting, the roost of hags. Burn me, I'll burn you back. I died, and I identify as hawthorn. Christ wounds the hottest fire, your creeping intuitions boiled for tea. Who wants this brewing form? Harpies come to preen and not to punish, strip the human out of me with the tactical caressing of their tanto claws, beaks like feudal hooks, paring the mortalmost part of the self from the self, the sheer insult of the body, this treeness and good. Who heard of a thorn tree with cervical cancer, a cactus fucked against its will? Stupidity squared. The boiling rivulet, the burning plain, and so much love the sinner bullshit you wouldn't believe. Blasphemers, supine upon burning sands. Gay bar boys running in circles like dogs, users crouched in the corner and weeping against God, against nature, against art. My friend, that sounds like a party, but the rain descends in scalding stair rods, everybody screaming, the bass is thumping. Better call Geryon. An unlicensed cab with a wyvern's face, a venomous javelin aimed at the heart of the melee, with all of us shrieking like divas in broken stilettos, for fuck's sake, take me home. The ugliest yet. What god would shear the tongue from the wagging of its pain, would wince at love? To the loan sharks alone the smouldered portion that is proper. They pull each other's teeth with pliers, they fill their pockets full of coals. When the house lights come up, they freeze, life-size collection box kids in calipers, slots in their heads. The boys in their bleachers and chinos swarm them, crack them with crowbars, scatter their hoarded wealth to litter, not to loot. Coins rolling everywhere, and they leave them where they lie, turning away with a florid disdain, and the bailiffs sob and the assault sparkles. Geryon, few orange and wandering hand, he doesn't usually go this far south, but for us he will make an exception. Yes, we are sons of soil. We are well acquainted with ditches, with trenches, moats, embankments and cuts, with gutters and gullies and the sewer pipes of Calcutta, etc., the fosse and the trough and the channel and the duct, the warren and the wookery, the charnel winds. Malabolge is a mouth filled with sand, the canal's cold excreta turned with a spade, is a maze without a minotaur, and the flat blocks built like this along the quayside, an image of the city in corruption, yes. Two flute bands marching in columns ahead, drummer boys stretching their own skin over the frame of the lambeg, the bowron, a civil flesh distended into sermons set to music. Men in mirrored glasses held together by the zips of their Harrington jackets, soft-eyed imbeciles copying their confessions in a repousse bowl, how their lives are hammered into low relief. I know these boys, punched and planished, coursed and chased, hot-worked with tongues they settlized in grieving faith and other tempering tools, along spurs of rock, the spokes of a wheel, Divis ring road, summit trail, the hallmarked silence of the hills, stipple-chin boys who lisp with a serious and stunted energy about nothing, their trying tongues would make a virtue out of vinegar. Each leads the boy behind him by scent, by sigh, by the many upright mottos of injurious chivalry. Kneeling on the curb, their eyes averted, mothers putting cigarettes out in their own ears. Yes, I am well acquainted with ditches, all the back doubles of a country cunning. Here I am quite alone. Men lean from bedroom windows, skirmishing with tinfoil swords. In a place like this, even their cardboard crowns catch the light, but the girls run by and the boys grow hoarse. If one should stop, her tresses turn to incident tape. The men are caught half hanging out, aphids stiffen their tongues, their liars' mouths where maple pests lay eggs in teeming clutches. The third ditch has a rule of wires, a row of heads. Each face screams inside a live TV supported on its shoulders. They breed like rabbits and multiply like vermin. The breath of Satan is upon us, you sodomite, you antichrist, you with your arsenal church. In the convex prison they breathe their own boiling air, waxing internecine on purity and love. Along the rim of the fourth ditch we walk backwards, bent into living sigils, usurping God's prerogative, talking amongst ourselves. Cameron and I do the Adiego act, the Cordelice, do the Spanish web, do the arabesque, the spider, the miracle split. Shirley condescends to a Marinelli bend, and from our body-packed positions we give all comers the lazy eye. I'm swinging shoe stones in a sock now, like billiard balls. When I cut the cards of fate, I do so with an axe. No one here is crying. In days of Kesseltrade and the ship-witted J'accuse, they said we forged the nails that crucified Christ. Who would not want the future in an alchemist's alembic when the present was imprisonment, a penalty of bears? Walking crabwise, we come to a lake of boiling pitch. The Malebranche have the arcade claws of Mrs. Thatcher. Politicos, police, spooks. Tar is their medium, not a punishment, but a dominion, their crocodile tears of seeping crude. We are well acquainted with ditches, the hypocrites with gilded jaws, massaging their statutes with stranglers' hands, nine-sided Whitehall wets who pay for their blood on expenses. Shankill and Glenann know their names, a king on a throne of knotted tails, the hoax, the clack, the poets. Rattenkönig double-faced dolls, their biscuit porcelain cracked, whose penny Cupid bitches singing in a round. Here comes the chorus, the we do not negotiate with terrorist song in waltz time. The poet glib lickers up a faint praise in yesterday's vomit, whose tongues are not golden shovels so much as the polished scoops of JCBs. The parasite pit is a reptile house swarmed by the reclaimed skins of leather goods. Here we saw the landlords and the dealers and the pimps narcotized by venom, digested while alive. After which we grow weary. The councillors of fraud wade through flame on stilts. The sowers of discord must schlep their ruined bodies round a never-ending circuit. I saw my father there, swinging his severed head like a censer thurifer of his own rage. Of course, he does not know me. Schismatics ripped from groin to chin, heretics slashed like prison snitches, informers wearing the kick-me signs of a contract kill, assassins nailing their kneecaps together. A devil aims an aggie look, but I am rooted to the spot. The ninth ditch is a mighty sluice, a great sucking funnel into which the Malabolge is tumbling every man, woman and child like a circus troupe, like a May Day parade. They put out my beloved's eyes with a coke-cord biro. They made him wear a Notre Dame jersey and a green bowler hat when he lunged or he swung, and they laughed at him. He had a light bulb in his mouth, and each time they tripped him, he bit down hard. Falsifiers. TV psychics, mainly, whose skin peels off in real time while they are harangued and spat on by every dead fuck they claim to contact. Alchemists also, Yuri Geller bent up like a pretzel. Imposters too, naked and trying to cover themselves with their tattered bona fides. Counterfeiters like storybook wolves with rocks in their bellies, living purses tight with chocolate coins and laundry tokens. Finally, the perjurers, rebuked by burning fever, more poets penning bad advice in a spidery hand. And now we have reached the central well, into which I stare without thought or comment. Shirley flips an arch witch over the lips, stings a few bars of 3 coins in a fountain, shrugs and recedes. Tiamat turns back into an unrealised tattoo, and Cameron assumes the shape of a painted fox, erasing herself one whisker at a time. Well, I died, and I reached the end of my magical thinking. Death is not a body picture, death is not Oz. I am not a sorority girl in the curfew dorms of death. I have always been alone. I say to Virgil, I thought there would be giants. He mimics me back in a bully's quit hitting yourself falsetto, then shoves me hard in the small of the back. I grew up in the country. I know about falling through ice, and here denials of love form freezing sheets in 4 concentric rings. Beneath the frazzled masses, traitors to their kin, they make fish mouths up through footed slush. Their lips are hard and blue as mussel shells. Beneath the loose layer known as anchor ice, the traitors to their country, to their party, to their cause. Only their faces emerge, grimacing lilies bloated with cold. Crushed between flows, the traitors to their guest, eyes beneath visors of ice, unable to speak, to blink or to breathe. Still as a twist of glass within a cat's eye marble, one man moans, or the wind makes a nest in his open mouth. The deep ice is silent. What sin is here is mineral, calcified long ago. These are not people, these are quartz suggestions of shape. Virgil assures me their minds are alive. I am not so sure, that is, I hope not. Finally, there is Satan, his first face mauling on Judas like a pit bull with a bone. His futile bat wings are limp wattles of black polyvinyl shriveled against his back. His other 2 faces chew the cud of a prominent traitor apiece, with all the bored compulsion of a teenage chain smoker. What he chews, he cries, tears of blood and scalding slimmer soup. I am not afraid. I can't see who he's eating, but I could hazard a guess. Satan, like a cow, has 4 stomachs. The cow's stomach is a book, owing to its many leaf-like folds. I think about this for a little while, like sitting in a cinema watching the credits because you have nowhere else to go and it's raining outside. I tell Virgil that I haven't seen anything here significantly worse than life. He gives me a lip-smacking godfather kiss. And back you go, poet. Off you fuck. This is the last poem. This is Day of the Jackal. Did you hear the one about my aureate dysphoria? How spring is crocus crisp, or the moment the night is a dark harness slipping over me. Girls should come back fierce, our softer mottos mooted. Unicorn, that terrible, excessive horse. Always be yourself unless. Did you hear the one about gaining weight and watching mean girls, their upwardly mobile algebra a dry and technical anguish, a single picturesque tear on the tip of an index finger, a fucking Aquaview lens? Did you hear a one about Bull Dyke Gatsby fangirl, gaudy with diagnosis? A spoiler warning. When she walks herself to sickle, she disappears and no one cares. Girls should come back fierce, say our secret worst in gilded whispers. Where on the dolly did the bad man touch us? And by bad man, the stinking ape hands of the world. Oh, I've been ordinary nights most marvellously ovulated. Giallo heroine lurid with hubris, gold eyelashes fake and sharp. My dreams are measured in units of absolute jackal. I run past your patisserie and spit on all the croissants of monogamy, the snug virtues of milk I will always be, as titless as an Amazon glory. Oh, my body is one long lacquered fang. My body is a body-coloured crayon. My body is an air punch, as a face palm is its own selfie stick. My mother said, "You look like Skeletor. Would it make her happy if I ate a stick of butter dipped in butter?" Like, hey mother, beauty at this point is just damage limitation. Did you hear the one about my followers, my networks, my friends, sublimely mutant? Somebody shared this crummy poem and my rainbow joygasm split the world. Listen now, 'cause girls should come back fierce. Where will they run to when the internet gives us up? When we exceed the airbrushed covens of the web, exit the optic of glossy threat, when we really start to live? Did you hear the one about the flammable, transparent girls, handmaidens of Carly? No, that's not a typo. Sleep, fucker, with one eye open. So there.